Whoever told us to buy Spotify, you've made us lose money. Whoever told us to buy everything else, you've made us a lot of money in our fake stock portfolio. I forgot that the market closes on Saturdays and Sundays, but to give you an update on our stock portfolio, our simulated stock portfolio, AMD has made us $1. I think total gains and loss though is like 84 cents down. We've also in total lost about 115 from GameStop. So whoever told me to buy GameStop, you're ruining us. Nvidia has gone down as well. Everything else has gone up though. We're up about $300 just today alone for some reason, even though the market's closed. So I'm assuming technically in total since we bought it, it's really about since Friday closing. My shorts have been going fantastically. Me shorting PayPal was stupid. I don't even know why I decided to short PayPal. No one told me no, but I decided to go for it, and that was a ballsy move. Hello everyone, welcome to today's stream. That's the update on your stocks. We'll probably get more at some point when the Monday opens. And again, this is all simulated. This is not a real stock system. This is a fake stock system. We're just doing this so I can prove a point to the chat that you can't make money consistently by playing your hand manually on a stock market like this. Ideally, you would just put your money into index funds. However, just like the other chat had said, just like Megan said, technically, I'm winning more than I would have in my... I'm actually making more money than my index funds have gone up in real life, so technically, I should have done this. I don't know how, but Whirlpool is doing really well, okay? Somehow, MasterCard, my bet on MasterCard and Visa, top tier. I was a genius. I knew they would work because they will never go down, right? In my shorts, honestly, I'm just a genius. I have a 2,000% return in a single day. Any hedge fund who wants to hire me, looking to hire me. Welcome to today's stream. There's a lot that we have to go over, and there's not really much explanation that I'm going to give you. You just have to deal with what you're going to see, because if you haven't seen the latest VOD on the VOD channel, which I had to change the name of recently, then you would actually that makes sense because that video has been age restricted. So I got into Girls Frontline last night, and let me make it clear. I got into Girls Frontline because my buddy a while back said, "Oh yeah, it's coming out," and he really enjoyed it. And I was like, "Oh okay, cool. Let me check it out." I thought it was the other game because there's another girl gacha game where you hide behind cover and you shoot out of cover. I don't think this is it. In fact, this is a tactical RPG. And what you're seeing is actually a real image of the game. This is the actual game. And in fact, I can just give you a showcase right now. So again, don't tell anyone because I don't think I'm supposed to show you this. Did you know that this is apparently an adult game? I had no clue, but this is apparently considered an adult game on Steam that you can't view normally. Can't imagine why, really. I really can't imagine why. What's funny about this game is that I think I got really lucky with my polls because I got 2 5-stars as soon as I started, and I got the best 5-star because her costume is ridiculous. I got Sabrina, and I got the Mosin, which is just the name of a gun. But you have to understand, these are not human people. These are robots, and these robots are here because they have different talents like being able to shoot people and stuff. This is fundamentally a game about girls at war. What's great is that you can just do this. There's a free camera, and you can just go into people's dormitories and just look at them, and you can even look around and get like a first-person view. And I figured this would be a good backdrop to what I'm going to be talking about today, which is last night was the Summer Games Fest, which I usually don't give a shit about anymore because it's pretty annoying to do, but I did watch it and I did record it. So you do actually get to see my reaction to it. Again, there was something interesting about the Summer Games Fest in that it was fairly straightforward and boring. But there were also some incredible highlights that I think changed my opinion of the entire event. Dear God. You could just wait. Can I just go? Wow. Just amazing. I didn't expect, for instance, Resident Evil 9. So Resident Evil 9 was officially announced last night, which is interesting. Because who could have guessed that that game would have ever come out, or even just been announced so soon? I would have thought it would have taken more time. I don't know about this idea of looking at somebody while they're sleeping. This is This isn't even like, kinky. This is just being a pervert, and it's not even being like a good pervert. Just being like, oh man, just being disgusting. You're being so disgusting right now. Just, dear God. There was also some other games I found funny. One, that new game by the Yakuza developer. They included a line in there that I was like, it gave me whiplash because I was like, holy shit, they're going all in on the story. But he used a very a very derogatory term for that time period, and it's still even now in many cases to refer to the main character. And it was like a Westerner versus like the main character who is like they're like half. And it was interesting because that really goes to show just how far they're going into the storyline and how much they really want to, I guess, showcase that time period and like the struggles of that time period, right? I thought that was a great concept, like story-wise, conceptually, because like you hear about it, you know about it, you learn about it, but to see it and to have the opportunity to bring it to life, to bring the racism to life, that's you can now experience what people used to feel like back then, right? And that's interesting to me because it's not like the racism is necessarily the whole reason why you play it. Like there's more to the game than just the racism, but it's the opportunity that it presents to tell a story that deals with the complexity of somebody in that time and being somebody in that time that I think is so interesting. Especially when you consider, that many places have a history of doing this stuff, and it's a history that's not far gone, right? That's like maybe only 40, 50 years ago. Hell, even in the Canada, we're not necessarily immune to the treatments of Japanese people, after the war. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see that take, and it's always fascinating to sort of see it within games, because games is sort of the one place that I never expected. In books, I see it often, right? Something like, let's say like a very straightforward book, like Requiem by Francis Atani, right? Great book about that time period. The great book about Japanese internment and sort of the long-term ramifications and effects of that on individuals in Canada, right? But you never expect to see that kind of literary care being taken within a video game, because you can experience it, and because video games are sort of seen as like a toy, it's difficult for you to, I guess, even begin to expand your imagination to include games as a form of art in that sense. However, it works. I think it works out very well, because again, that experiencing it, not to say that I want you to experience racism. I need to think about how to say this, but in a way, when you can see through a different lens, and when you do get to be like an actor within that time and space and with those feelings, then you really begin to understand why it was so bad. Not that you needed that, but I think it makes it hit home even more, right? I also got Latar, so this is new. I got Sabrina and the Mosin Nagant and Latar. Some of these characters I don't really care about. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of these characters are like, Also, fun fact: for some reason, this game is apparently new in the West. So, on the Steam page where I see all those cool costumes, it's because they haven't released them here yet. I'm waiting for them to release them to buy them, especially the Sabrina outfit. Because at the moment, all you get is just a handful of characters and maybe a handful of outfits. What else from the Games Fest, from the Summer's Game Fest was really, really good? Axe of Blood. That game I've been waiting for a long time. I remember following the developer on Twitter when I saw their gameplay, and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I wonder, I've always wondered this, but I have a feeling the Summer Games Fest picks and chooses. What are you doing? By the way, this is a game about girls, cute girls at war. She's planning an attack on a nuclear facility. What? That is a chimney used for a nuclear bomb. She's planning an attack on a nuclear facility. Wow. So you have that, right? I have suspected the Summer Games Fest reaches out to indie developers to give them the opportunity to showcase their game at the Summer Games Fest for free, because I've heard that the Summer Games Fest is very expensive to buy a slot for. It's like 200,000, and I don't think the Axe of Blood developer has that money, because though they're very good at what they've done, they're also one single person making an entire game about, which seems like it's a very complicated fighter, which is reminiscent of Sifu, but I don't want to say that because I feel like it also diminishes exactly what that game is doing. And it's an Indonesian game, which is cool, set in Indonesia. Well, maybe it's an Indonesian game, but it is set in Indonesia, which is interesting because I'm curious to see, or at least I think it is. I'm curious to see how that storyline sort of goes, and I'm curious to see and to see like how well it plays into the setting, because many times the setting of a game doesn't matter. Like a lot of these games can focus on the gameplay and the setting doesn't matter. Like you've never played Devil May Cry. Sorry for waking you up. I'm just monologuing. You didn't even bother reading. Just don't even bother pretending. Just fall asleep. You play Devil May Cry and you know that there's angels and demons, but it doesn't matter where you are. What you care about is the angels and the demons, right? A game like Sifu, however, makes you care about the setting because the setting has a lot of interplay with how you play the game and how you understand the world and the motivations of the characters within. I'm very curious which way Acts of Blood will go, but either way, I'm excited because the game genuinely looks fun. And I think I've linked to the Twitter a couple times, and I'm like, this game is going to be amazing when it comes out, and I'm so glad that I was right. Because that game is going to be so sick. Because that gameplay trailer that they showed was really, really good. And it seems really polished at this stage, which I was very surprised by. There was a lot of other games too at the Games Fest. Some smaller games, some larger games. In general, the Games Fest is still sort of the same old, where, you know, you sort of just go there for advertisements. And so the show itself was just a quick rapid fire of one short statement into, you know, game display, one short statement in the game display. Most of the games there didn't whelm me at all, because I'm not, I don't know why, but a lot of them did seem very boring. But there was another one that stood out to me. It was a Wu-Tang Clan game. At first I didn't understand because it was just saying words and I didn't really care about the words. I usually don't care about the words within trailers because the words mean nothing. Like, you ever watch a trailer and it gives you a synopsis of the story, right? The synopsis doesn't matter. What they say about the story doesn't matter. It's how you experience the story. It's how you feel the story. Not to say that reading and listening to what the story is doesn't matter, but feet! Yes, chat. Welcome to the feet channel today. Oh, good. Her toes are open. She's the only one who does this weird toe thing. So, fun fact. My wife, when we were younger, so well, I mean, for context, this is a weird thing to say. It makes me sound like a pervert. But I've known my wife since we were 3 years old. Okay, my wife, she's clipping. My wife, when we were younger, saw me one day on the couch, and she told me this story, and because I was like, "Honey, why are your toes like this?" Just don't ask, right? Okay. Stream gets more weird with each stream. No, this is not weird. This is top tier content. This is what you've been waiting for. Look at that. So my wife's foot, she like kind of had this naturally, and she was telling me how one day she saw me on the sofa and I did this, and I didn't know that I was doing this. I have weird physical tics. I have a lot of weird physical tics. I have a lot of weird tics in general. I'm just a weird dude, right? And she went home and she copied me, and she got yelled at because she was in ballet. Where you can't do this, because if you do this and you lose the form of your foot, your dancing gets worse, and also it's like hard, right? But she was like, because of you, I have a gap in my toe now because I kept opening it like this. And she said that she stretched her toe out to like be able to do this because she was jealous of me being able to do this motion. And I was like, honey, that's so cute. Just another weird childhood story about my wife and I. There's something funny about the fact that my wife and I have known each other for so long that like we have these weird childhood stories. And this is the thing, right? When you're a child, you don't really think about the other person's perspective. It's only later in your life that you do and that you care more about them, right? Just because like as a child, I think all children are naturally selfish to some degree because it's like empathy is a learned skill as well as something innate. It's just hard to sort of picture yourself in somebody else's shoes when you haven't even fully fit into yours, right? And in doing so, you know, you sort of neglect certain experiences. But it's later when you actually, you know, hear about what they had to go through. It's like a nice memory to look back on, because there's so many different experiences that, you know, you both don't really pay attention to that just happened to you both. God, that's so good. That is such a this is a great angle. Oh, sorry for tickling your toe. I didn't mean to tickle your toes there. You feel like this one is par for the course. Thank you. See? Someone who understands that this is just a normal... This is just a normal Saturday stream. Anyways, fan favorite character. Everyone loves Sharky. Or Sharkery. Everybody loves Sharkery. She has a swimsuit outfit coming soon. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, that game, so Summer Games Fest, right? The Wu-Tang Clan game came out of nowhere. At first they were saying words, and the story of the game didn't really matter. And then they said Method Man, and I was like, holy fuck, it's Wu-Tang Clan. Like as soon as they said Method Man and then RZA, I was like, oh shit, this is it. Well, they didn't say RZA. I think they pronounced his name differently, but I was like, oh shit, it's Method Man, the RZA, and the Jizza. Because I like to make fun of it and then say like it's like the RZA and the Jizza. But I was like, oh shit, it's a Wu-Tang Clan game. And the little snippet of gameplay that they showed actually looked genuinely fun. I think it's gonna be a fun game, and it's hard to explain, but like the Wu-Tang Clan IP is so terrible that you can do anything with it, and I think you're gonna have a great time. Look, chat, she's smiling at you. POV, your Oshi is staring at you and smiling at you. She's saying thank you for watching my stream. This is the POV. This is like your moment to be parasocial with your Oshi. But the problem is that she's a narcissist. As all streamers are narcissists. And she's staring at photos of herself being a pop star. Why is she staring at photos of herself? This is a compromising photo of herself with like her ass. Wow. 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 Oh god. She's so saturated and sweet that it makes me sick in a way. Look at the detail, by the way, on the feet. Like really get in there. Look at the folds, man. This is insane. Wow. What other games from the Games Fest were really exciting for me? I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else was there at the Games Fest that made me excited. Honestly, the Games Fest is, you know, because there's so many different games and because games are so unique to what you feel like you might want to play, it's hard for you to get into the game unless you really enjoy the concept of the game. Like, a lot of the games I really didn't care much about. But that's not because the games are bad, it's just because I look at the games and I go, I don't know if I would ever want to play this. Though I will say, I think game developers have gotten better at doing less cinematic only trailers. Because cinematic only is so boring as a viewer to watch. Because oh my god. Because it tells you nothing about the game. Nothing. Cinematic only trailers tell you nothing about the game, and they lore dump you in an expository way without any interesting elements that sort of grips you. And a lot of stories are rehashes of older stories. This is just a natural consequence of the fact that humanity has been alive for longer than any single lifetime. Humanity as a whole and the artwork of humanity has existed for longer than a single person's life, and therefore when you make a piece of art, there's a very high likelihood that somebody else has already made it. It's very rare, if not impossible now, to find something that is truly unique within its own space. Even things that are lauded as works of art that have won awards, something like Parasite. I can point to a number of other stories that also have that idea of the poor leeching off of the rich, or like the evil poor person, you know, taking away from like from like the like evil rich person, right? There's a lot of different variations on that concept, and that thing won a lot of awards, which, you know, they were deserved. But it's just to point out that even the best thing in the world has some basis in something else, because humanity has been around for so long, right? So since cinematic trailers always fail at that, but this Games Fest had a lot more gameplay trailers, which I really enjoyed. I can't believe this is free. Can you imagine that this is free? Stream has been buffering for you for some reason. Just you? Well, no, it's probably the Twitch admins. They're probably trying to ban me right now. But they can't get me. Anyways, this game, by the way, I need to remind you all, is not just a bunch of ass things. It's actually like a tactical RPG. It's actually kind of cool. I actually think that this game is kind of cool. And what's crazy is that it has chess challenges. It has the exact same thing that you would find in a chess game. I'm not even kidding you. So this is probably the weirdest feature I've ever seen in my entire life. But I've always thought that this would be a fun thing to do for a video game, where you need to figure out the correct number of moves to beat some challenge, similar to a chess puzzle. And it's interesting because you have to win in a single go, and you have to try and like complete some condition. You have to somehow be able. Oops. I think I messed up. You have to somehow be able to stop the enemy from forming too many, units on the map, and you need to sort of do it within the conditions of these units. I actually think that this game is a masterpiece, but it also gives you the opportunity to goon. It's like both an edging game as well as like a real game. So I think it's a masterpiece. But again, it's sort of hard to explain this without people looking at it, because this is your default character that you get. This is your default character that you obtain, and she's just there. And you just get to see this. And you just get to do this for everyone. Like, everybody, you just get to look at. And you just get to zoom in and look at their body in, like, different ways, which is very interesting. And then you get the costumes like this. This is the best part. Is you get costumes like this. Like, look at this thing. Look at it. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. So not only do you have a tactical RPG that has chess challenges, you also get, like, Guna material. Like, look at this! Wow! Anyways, if you want to see more, you can look at the VOD. But yeah, that's all that happened to me. Again, Summer Games Fest was a bit of an interesting sort of look at new games, and some of the games appealed to me, a lot of them didn't, but boy... Was it actually kind of worth it this time, just because of the reveal of Resident Evil 9 and the return of the classic sort of like Raccoon City Police Department storyline, at least it seems like, and this idea of, especially because like I'm not a big fan of the current storyline where they've gone towards whatchamacallit, the village side. I not to say that the village side is bad, but I feel like I'm done with the village side, and I'm glad that they're bringing it back to the basics of like what the story was before, and they're tying it all in together so that we actually see what's going on, which is nice. Because I don't know. I just feel like that's a good way to take it, because I feel like you can only do so much with the idea of like a cult in the middle of the woods in a story that's fundamentally about science gone wrong and this idea of like biological warfare, right? Also, some of the games that weren't, I think, announced on the stream itself. There was like a medieval sandbox game, Chronicles Medieval. Death Stranding 2 had some more... No, Death Stranding 2 was at the Summer Games Fest, and it was at the very start, I think. Which I think was really, really cool. But I tuned in a bit later, so I missed it until afterwards. There's like a third-person Cuphead game. There's a Game of Thrones game. There was more James Bond announcements. Like, there's now James Bond and Hitman. And Hitman is apparently getting, like, a co-op mode, which is cool. There's actually a lot. There's actually a surprising amount of games. There's yet another extraction shooter. And then there's another capture the flag game. And I don't understand how this works, but I can't imagine that a capture the flag game can potentially be such a compelling concept that it can survive on its own and not just be a game mode in an existing shooter. But the entire game is about you being in like the 70s or the 60s disco, but also capture the flag. And I think it's gonna be shit. But I just think like games with a single mode that focuses on a single mode aren't going to do well. However, that's also because I'm like old game pilled, right? Because League of Legends is a game that's fundamentally about one single mode, but that game makes bajillions of dollars. So maybe there's something there, right? Liza P had a new DLC, which was okay. Silent Hill F, I forgot, did get announced, and I thought Silent Hill F looked very interesting and very cool. The gameplay of it actually looked like a real game that I thought was cool. Mina the Hollower now has a release date, so it's that weird 2D, almost like Zelda-like game. It is basically Zelda on crack by Shovel Knight, which I'm super excited for it. I think the game is going to be great. Neil Patrick Harris is Deadpool, which I was very surprised about. Mixtape is looking better and worse at the same time. I don't really know how to feel about it. And there's more. Again, there's a lot of top-down roguelikes. There's another Scott Pilgrim game, and I don't really know why people still care about Scott Pilgrim. There's a Lego game. It's a Mario Party game. There's a Splitgate 2, which I was like, I don't really. Apparently, Splitgate 1 had 20 million players, and I was like, what the fuck? I had no clue people play that game but this is the thing, right? The games that you see and the games that are popular are never really games that will show up on your radar just because, it's just like how can you even imagine it being popular? Like, because it's not in your ballpark. But Halo was one of the best-selling games for a very long time on the Xbox during its prime time, right? And I never really cared about shooters. So, apparently I'm just out of the loop in a lot of ways. What else was interesting? Oh yeah, when they showed Mecha Break, I was like, who gives a fuck? Street Fighter 6 has more fighters. What else was there? I think that was it. Kind of a shitty. I don't know. They're just a lot of the games. Well, not that they're shitty, but a lot of the games I just look at and I go, eh. For today's schedule, as I said before, we're going high, then we're going low. Okay. The reason why we're going high is because we're going to be playing Karen today. The demo of it, because I was told and informed yesterday that there is a demo for Karen. I had no clue, and I was excited to play the demo of that game because I thought it was going to be a great climbing game. Because they showed off the sleeping during the climbing. Because I watched the video and I had this thought of like, how do you take a shit while you're climbing? And ever since then, I've been on the lookout for a climbing game that thinks about the poop. And I think about this a lot. And that a lot of games that are built for a particular concept never think about the poop. Like you make a game about shooting people, let's say in Uncharted. You never think about the poop, which is like the ramifications of Nathan Drake being a serial killer, right? Or you make a game about you make a game about climbing, and then you sort of think about how they never really think about the poop. Like you look at the game like Juice Ant, and then you see it's just climbing, and it's just like nice and happy. But like, I want to see people think about the poop of the scenarios. It's why The Last of Us was so interesting. The scenario of you being in the Last of Us, and the poop of the consequences of your actions, and that being a core premise. That's what makes it interesting. When you have that, I think a game is peak, and therefore I think Karen is going to be good because they show sleeping. Because sleeping is the poop of climbing. After that, we're going to be playing Open Sewer because I didn't know this. Did you know that there's a whole other map to the game? So I posted a teaser to the upcoming map, which is the Bazaar. But there's already 2 or 3 maps inside the game that I just never got to. So we had to finish some quests in that game to go further, and I was like, I didn't want to talk too much today, it's just surprising seeing me like this. Okay, so and again, the markets are closed. Isn't poop the poop of climbing? Well, it is, but like, isn't that what you want to see? Like, am I the only one who wants to see the poop? Like, am I the only person who wants to see somebody like shit their pants? Like, think about the mechanic of you having to shit your pants when you're up there, right? As a reminder, these are our gains and losses. Okay, the market's open back on Monday, but I want you to know we're in the green somehow. My PayPal purchase, whoever said PayPal, you failed me. Whoever told me to buy Nvidia, you failed me. Whoever told me to buy GameStop, you definitely failed me. Whoever told me to buy AMD, you also failed me. Keep those numbers in mind because I know who you are, and you have now lost points. But we're going to move on now into the next segment of today, which is Karen. Hopefully you enjoyed the foot exhibit. I thought that was a fun way to start it off because, feet is sort of the underlying... Feet are the linchpin of today's stream. You use your feet to climb, and in Open Sewer, everyone's homeless and can't afford shoes, and so therefore you walk on your bare feet. Does that make sense? If anything, I think the game is going to be a hit just because of the voice acting alone. There's something genuinely funny about the way that it handles all those noises. I'm gonna punt Open Sewer to a different day. I think we continue with the climbing. I am now fired up for climbing. I think it's time for us to get to the end of White Knuckle. We have to see the end. I'm willing to go all the way today to see a new a new map, a new biome. I'm in the mood to climb. I'm I'm very happy. That's a good spot to end off on. Thank you all for joining me today. Hopefully you enjoyed the foot showcase earlier this morning on Girls Frontline 2. The bread, the PTSD is kicking in. Think about the bread. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna be playing some story games of some kind. We're gonna be playing some open source to start with because I want to get to the new area in open source. If we have time, we'll start Decade, but probably not. It probably will be on June 9th. On June 10th. June 9th, though. For everyone who doesn't know, well, June 9th or June 10th, I'm not really sure. Probably going to be June 10th. We're going to be playing Seiko, Giantess Dating Sim. Or we may even do it tomorrow. It depends on what I feel like. I'm thinking tomorrow, but I don't want to conflict with something else that I want to like play. Like I need to figure out. But we will see our giant Dami Mommy within the coming week at some point. Thank you all for joining. Hopefully you enjoyed the climbing streams. Remember, we had a lot of good ideas today. I want all of you to think about those ideas and like internalize them and like realize that we're onto something here. And thank you all for joining my study. We now have a better understanding of how many people are programmers who rock climb, and we've even discovered why. It's specifically the puzzle aspect that is making it that makes it so appealing. Oh, by the way, the Until Then devs are hinting for a DLC. Yes, I saw that too. Yeah, actually, yeah. So they had like a post saying like we have a surprise coming up, and I'm excited to see what they have cooking, because the game did end off in a not really ambiguous way, but it's like it's less ambiguous the more that you understand the rest of the story. But I'm excited to see if they continue on that route or if they go with like a different idea entirely within the same place. Because I can't imagine what a game like that could have as DLC for story other than a continuation. But not that I'm complaining. That game was fantastic writing, and I have a feeling that they'll always knock it out of the park. So, but yeah, have a good night, everyone. See you all next time. I'm just gonna go. My throat hurts. Bye. Also, if you're playing Girls Frontline, please let me know so I can add you. We can trade girls.